Are you ready? I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is
Holy Roller
from the band
Spiritbox
for the big homie
Man of X.
Man of
I'm sorry.
X.
Well, I was a little distracted by what's going on in the album cover here.
Things were going so well.
I know,
Going,
but it looks like the burning bush.
Going. Okay. Now, how did Man of X convince us to do this particular song? Well, there's multiple ways to get your song reviewed, dear listener. My favorite is a community option. $1 at the gate gets you in a Patreon. And then you're able to meet many amazing people, like, for example, Halendros. I don't know if you pronounce his name properly. Silver Kyrie. There's just a whole bunch of them. If you get recruited, which I don't think you ever will, to the...
Why wouldn't you get recruited?
The True Cult.
Oh.
I think it's a very difficult thing to get into True Cult, and I'm not particularly certain what the algorithm is, actually, to get into the True Cult Alliance. But anyway,
Neither am I.
if you so $1 at the gate, you get recruited, and then you pull your points together, and that determines what song that you do. Okay?
Yes. Look, Matt Jones. Pin him.
This video inspired by a horror movie called Midsummer. It's about Swedish pagan cult. I knew it, didn't I say?
No,
didn't that look like
I thought
Midsummer?
he was joking.
No, he didn't.
No.
He didn't know. He didn't know what I was. He didn't know that I said that earlier because that was almost 3 hours ago. Anyway. So that's $1 at the gate gets you a Patreon. If you don't want to be part of an alliance and you want to come up with it yourself, there's a Filthy Capitalist option or the Ronin option, depending on who you ask. $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You can do that on Patreon, or you can do that on PayPal, vinandsori@gmail.com. You do that 3 times, you get knocked down to the $75 rate, which is where Man of X is. And
Boom.
if he wasn't, after today, he is. So Man of X, if you... want another song and you pay us $125, we're going to have to give you $50 back. Or however much it is back, okay? You're at $75 now for all perpetuity. Also, there's going to be so many cool things on Patreon. I cannot wait for this month to be over because we're going to be launching those videos and the other things that we have for Patreon soon. But that's happening on 12 a.m. April 1st. And the name of that video is going to be This Is Not an April Fool's Patreon. Okay?
Oh.
This, by the way, is Kellandros. Look at that sexy beast. There he is up there with his guitar. The sexy bastard.
Look at that.
Ladies, I think he's taken, so sorry. He's off the list.
What do you mean you think? Isn't that something you should know definitively?
I'm pretty sure he's...
If he's not, he's going to be like, why did you say it was taken?
I'm pretty certain him and Peter are together. I'm pretty certain.
Him and Peter?
Our drummer, yeah.
Oh.
Kellandros and Peter are together, so... He's off the list. Okay. All right, guys. Here we go. Filthy Capitalist. Here we go. I was going to say Midsummer. This is Holy Roller. Let's go. This looks exactly like Midsummer. I'm going to make this video bigger. You don't need to see us. See this craziness.
It's scary! Oh, hell no. Ugh. Oh my gosh. Okay, first of all, you're never gonna believe what comes to mind. First of all, I wasn't reading the lyrics. I was a little taken by the film. But to me, it was like, I heard them talking about blood and something. And blood into wine. Take my body instead. Okay, anyway, maybe this had to do with that little film that we watched, that Midsummer's Eve, which is really creepy, and I would never ever watch it again. But it reminded me, honest to goodness, it reminded me of some of my experiences with Christianity, where there was like, because you know how there was like, it was like this dark figure that like still kind of looked like her, but it had the white paint. But then she was like singing like all happily with it. Like as the scream was going, she was like kind of like the fakeness that you can in certain Christian circles where like some people can be like horribly bad off, but they're just gonna keep that smile going. Mm-hmm. I wish I had one of those little ding for my teeth. But that it was like, it's kind of like the more time that I spend away from it, because like one of the things like Vinny likes to have in a family is like being extremely real with each other. And there was like one time where like the kids were fighting with each other, and then like we sat around the dinner table, and one of our kids like wanted everybody to like put everything aside and just like act like everything was perfect. And Vin was like, no, we're not doing this. We're going to talk it out. And then we had a conversation and everything ended up good at the end. But like, that is not something that I'm accustomed to. And so I'm still, you know, I've been getting more and more used to it. But now that I've been
being truthful when there's a problem.
Yeah.
You're not used to. Yeah, I can see that you're not used
but
to
it's so tiring because like there's always a problem. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I don't think there's always a problem. There was a particular problem that the kids were dealing with at that time.
Yeah, but it feels like there's always
that they have since that night. They've done pretty good at.
I don't even remember what the problem was.
There was one particular person that was being left out of everything, and everybody was attacking that person, and then all like they've done it was since that conversation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
They've done a lot better at it.
But now, like, because I've been out of it for, like, the whole, like, fakey, like, now it just feels like the Stepford Wives sort of situation, and it's creepy, you know?
Well, I got the same type of thing about religious settings, but it was a lot more sinister than that. Like, you know, she had the pretty version, and then there was, like, the demon version of her, and that demon version obviously was terrifying.
Coming around her neck.
But even she was a demon at one point. You know, when she was in the, you know, what do you call it? She was in the, you know, because that was her singing too. You know what I'm talking about?
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why I said it's the whole, like, they're
right
dark as that sometimes,
right.
But they're like...
Right. So, but, like, if a person's having a hard time, I generally don't look at them as, like, being a demon.
No.
I'm talking about people who are, like, legit evil. Like the priest that, molests little kids or whatever. Like,
oh my gosh.
That guy's a motherfucking demon, right? Like, and he needs to go to his place, right? That's what I'm talking about. Like, there is one particular person in the churches and stuff that we used to go to, and the nicest person as far as like as far as like the presentation, nice, very smiley.
Ooh.
But terrifyingly evil. Like a legit evil woman.
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
Had a family member that was assaulted by another family member and then proceeded to assassinate this girl's character over decades. Like, it was just like insane, and like, but the outward presentation is just very nice and whatever. And I remember like you telling me that, and you didn't really look like it was. You're just like, yeah, you know, blah. We always thought that the other one was crazy and blah. Like, it didn't hit you like how unbelievably evil this woman was.
Yeah.
And like, holy shit, man.
Yeah, I had to take some separation from the situation to actually kind of come around to be like, oh my gosh. But that's because I think certain things have been normalized in my own mind. And so I had to be separated from some crazy to realize that's fucked up.
Yeah. I don't think the song is like really meant to be taken that seriously. But for us, if you've come up in a religious context, that dichotomy is there, man. Mm-hmm. That dichotomy is like the very nice outward person who's inwardly a complete demon is that shit is real, bro. Mm-hmm. That shit is real, and you don't see it like manifest until you really start like when it's clear that you're about to escape, and only religious people will know what I'm talking about. When it's clear that you're about to escape, that's when everything comes out.
Yeah,
because they will do everything possible to keep you in that fucked up system, to keep control over you. So like some of it is kind of funny. And some of it's kind of like, I don't know, bro.
I remember like, and I don't even know, maybe this doesn't even fit into this part of the conversation, but I feel a little bit disoriented right now.
Yeah, I was not expecting that shit, although I should have known, because Jen was like, oh, you guys wait. You guys just wait.
So like, it was really bad. Like, I just found out of like a really, a lot of horrible stuff in my previous marriage. I was like, trying to process everything that I kept finding out. I felt like I was being assaulted with information night after night after night. And it was so traumatic. And so I left. And I guess he had called you and told you to go find me or something like that. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I really don't know how I landed in a situation where I was walking with you talking about what had happened.
Yeah.
And then when I left, that person that you were speaking of could have called me. And they were like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And I was like,
"Nah. You had found out. You had found more stuff." And you were like, he called me. He's like, "Get over here, because she's about to drive away and do something crazy or whatever." So I just got done a run. I jumped in, smelly as hell, jumped in my car, and I pulled up just in time to see you. You were about to drive off. We talking about the time when you drove off all angry and shit, and I was like, just stay, because
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
You don't remember me rolling up there.
The only thing
I was
that
like
I
begging
remember,
you. I was like, sorry, do not leave. Don't drive in. Don't you remember?
Oh, yes, that's right.
I was scared to death.
And
bro.
I was going to. The only reason I didn't was because it was you. You were literally the only person that could stop me.
You drove off.
I came back.
You drove off. And I was there, and he was there, and he's looking at me, and I'm like, what the fuck did you do? And he started telling me stuff, and I'm like, come on, bro, you serious?
When you were walking with me? I know you were wearing a white shirt.
Yeah, what happened was I kept texting you.
I had a piece of tape on the shoulder.
I kept texting you and calling, and he kept calling you because I was trying to get you off the road because, that's one of the little pearls of wisdom my mom gave me was never drive when you're like that angry and upset. And sure enough, she was telling me the story, something that happened between her and my stepdad, and she drove angry and she almost died.
Well, I was.
So I'm like, holy shit, here we go. And I'm like... So finally, you turned around. I convinced you to come back around. And I was like, just come back around. We'll talk, blah, blah, blah.
You said trust me.
Yeah. I said, you can trust me. And we had that little walk. And you didn't kill yourself. And I was very happy about that. But then she called you, the evil lady. She called you up. What was she saying?
Well, at first, it sounded like she was calling to check on me because she had found out. Well, even still, she didn't know a whole lot of what was going on. She knew more.
She knew already.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, you told her.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And she wasn't a bit surprised. She knew. That's right. And then,
well, yeah.
At that point, anyway, so she asked me if you had given me a hug.
Yeah.
And it was the most bizarre question because I like...
You were in the
my
middle.
My mind was like trying to like come back down and be like, wait, what? What did she just ask me? And then I was like, no, because you weren't like a huggy person.
No.
So, I was like, no, you didn't hug me.
Unbelievable.
But then I started realizing like what she was saying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit, I just told this woman I was about to kill myself. And she's worried if you hugged me or not.
She didn't care. As a matter of fact, she would have rather you died. That whole crew of people. That's what I'm saying. These are evil people, bro. Like they would have much rather have buried you than to have you escape.
With a black man.
That was just to add further insult to injury. Me and my dominant genes, because I'm the original man. Shout out to Yakub. Your devilish self. It's your devilish self.
There was so much about that was just... So when I see stuff like this, it's like those people wanted me to fake that everything was okay.
100%.
And just go right back and keep smiling.
100%. 100%. Because they elevated the concept of marriage over the actual person.
Listen, I'll tell you guys something really weird about myself, okay? You guys ready for this?
Oh, God. Has this
So
been
we
cleared
were
by
at
the authorities?
This church years before any of that happened, and I was sitting in the congregation and the pastor was preaching, and I literally saw that it was the weirdest thing. I saw the man that I was married to at the time, like it was almost like kind of like a weird dream. He was like sitting in another seat at the church, and I saw all these things like around him. That was like all the stuff that was about to happen, like that was about to come down in like a few years. I'm like, that's really weird. And I knew that like in that moment, I knew all that bad stuff was going to happen. And sure enough, it did. But it was a pretty weird moment.
Did you tell me about that?
I think so. I was like, well, that's going to happen then. But I thought that some of the tips and tricks that I had been given would protect me from such...
You know, I'm going to take over the adult education of the girls. The more and more I hear you talk, the more nervous I get. I'm like, wait a second.
No, that's why I told you. I'm like, I really want to sit down and kind of like study through stuff together. Don't bypass me and give them the information that I would like to have.
Okay, we'll have a conversation about it after I get out of the shower. I take it they were they were evangelicals. You know, I just think that I just think, you know, when you get around religious communities, man, like if the emphasis is on you know, Jesus, then you're gonna be okay. Mm-hmm. But if the emphasis is on presenting a certain thing or conforming to a certain culture and, you know, whatever, and you start, and Jesus had a massive problem with people putting institutions over people.
Well, yeah.
Like the Sabbath. The Sabbath was a very big law in the Old Testament. And Jesus says, look, Sabbath was made for man. Man wasn't made for the Sabbath. That means that the person is always going to be more important than the institution.
Yeah.
And a lot of times in religious, you know, a lot of religious contexts, the person gets eaten alive by the institution. Mm-hmm. And that you have to make sure that the institution is, and a lot of people don't make it out. A lot of people don't make it out of that shit. Like we know people that, you know, decided that they were going to stick it out and be good Christians and blah 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 and allow themselves to be abused and all the rest of it. And, you know, I mean, God bless them, mm-hmm. but they're miserable as hell. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like,
yeah, it's interesting.
And it's one of those things where God's gonna be like, I never told you to do that, bro.
Right, yeah.
So, like, come on in, come home, but, like, I never told you to do that shit. You could have a lot more fun in here.
You know what's interesting? People are always, like churches and stuff, they're always, like, trying to, like, hide everything and just put only the good forward instead of, like, dealing with the bad. But if you look at the Bible didn't even do that. No. Like, you read through the Bible and you're like, wow, there's some really shitty people in here.
You can't get out of the first story.
You're like, oh, wow, okay.
Alex Mop and Hefner in the house.
Hey, what's up?
It's currently the greatest reaction channel of all time, Alex Hefner. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Become a Hef nerd. his
And
channel.
wear your dope ass shirt.
His channel, by the way, is going to be the only other reaction channel that gets to debut our video.
Did you already talk to him about that?
I texted him like a year ago when I made the final riff. I was like, okay, the song's done. I know what's
We
gonna be.
won't disappoint.
I messaged Hef and I was like, yo, bro, big bro. So anyway, so there you go, Alex Hefner. That's what the big homie looks like. Like, share, comment, and subscribe, and be part of the Hefner movement because he's literally the best in the business. He's the greatest. I can say it now. I was in a room with Alex because I was helping him with Rig Central because he was doing his interview thing. It was me, Hefner, and I'm not gonna say. I'll let him say it, but like it was a dude in a very big band. He was a guitarist in a very big band, and so I jumped on, and the dude goes, hey, aren't you that guy? And I was like, hey, aren't you that guy? And we're all looking at each other. And then the guy's like, people would lose their shit if they saw this meeting right now. Yeah, Hef. I'll send you the link. You'll be the one that actually lay eyes on the first full and complete video.
I'll be looking forward to your thumbnail.
Hey, Hef, do me a favor. Drop the link to your channel in that chat, por favor.
He can't.
We'll just make him admin. Is that what has to happen? Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled program. We're reviewing this song. Yeah, man. So
Yeah, right there, he said it.
What?
Alex.
What did he say?
Right there, Nick Nocturnal, wasn't it? Haha, you, me, and Nick.
Oh,
thing, yeah?
Yeah. I was gonna say yeah.
Well, I know, but he said it, so I didn't know if that was gonna.
Yeah, it was Nick. It was Nick Nocturnal. So me, Hef, and Nick Nocturnal are in there like trying to figure out like Ring Central and how it worked or whatever. So yeah. Alex Hefner, he's the best in the business. He's literally the best.
Okay.
Best reaction channel of all time. Smartest, great reactor. Just I have hella respect for the homie. Stand to the left of me in paradise. That's a good one. Go ahead. What were you saying?
I wanted to get into this part of it. Born of blood and seraphim, to grip the Nazarene, crown of God, you wear it thin, to come and rapture me.
Yeah.
What does it mean? It sounds very creepy.
I don't really. So a seraphim.
Grip the Nazarene.
Seraphim are, according to Michael Heiser, a subgroup of the cherubim. So I don't know if she knows what she's really saying, but Michael Heiser, along with myself, which doesn't really mean, well, it means something if Michael Heiser believes it, but it doesn't really mean much if I believe it. But long story short, when it talks about the serpent in the garden, it's actually not the word that is used there is actually used all throughout the scripture to double as a seraphim. Mm-hmm. So serpent and seraphim are actually used interchangeably. As a matter of fact, there's the story in Numbers where the serpents start biting everyone, and then you got to make that little staff with the serpent. Everybody has to look at the staff. Well, it says when the serpents were biting people, it uses the term serpent and seraph interchangeably for the snakes that were biting everyone.
Yeah.
And so Heiser speculates, and so do I, that the serpent is actually a seraph, of the highest angel that was in charge of basically guarding the throne room of God. Mm-hmm. And if you look at some of the ancient Egyptian reliefs, you had Pharaoh's throne, and you had a cobra here. You had a cobra here and a cobra here, mm-hmm. and they were the guardians of Pharaoh's throne, and they were winged cobras, mm-hmm. which of course they were lots of cobras in mm-hmm. Egypt and in the area, and so the seraphim are basically the same thing. They're winged serpentine beings mm-hmm. that guard the throne of God. And so, and of course, you can look at that as, they picked this up from Egypt. They picked up this imagery from Egypt. Or you could say, no, the Egyptians picked up the original from, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So it just depends. But anyway, the point is, when she says, born of blood and seraphim, to grip the Nazarene, crown of God, you wear it thin, you come and rapture me. And then she talks about stand to the left of me in paradise. Mm-hmm. Well, that literally happened. The seraphim was in paradise, and it was a bad guy, and it caused all these problems for everybody. So, I don't think, Heiser is relatively new as far as biblical scholarship goes. So when I say I don't think she knows what she's actually saying here, I'm not saying it's because she's ignorant or something. She would have to be really tuned in
to the new information.
The most cutting-edge scholarship. And it's just, most Christians don't know what I just said. So, it just looked to me like they were going all out with it, man. And if you're born of blood and seraphim and you're bad, that means that you're a child of the devil, who was originally a seraph, we believe. So there you go. Red Dust has something very significant to say. The Garden of Eden was awesome because we're all naked. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Lizard Phoenix. Lizard Phoenix I think would probably be that's a good combination of what a seraph actually was.
Can you please remind me of his comment later, because I actually have something I want to talk to you about that.
Yeah, Lizard Phoenix is actually a real good way to talk about a seraph.
Yeah.
Like a fiery, winged, serpentine being. Boom. There you go.
Yeah. What do you think the fiery sword was that they stood outside the Eden with?
I don't know. When you consider Hoffman, which, I think Kai is coming to that group too when we have the Hoffman book club discussion. Hoffman's book club is Hoffman, is really interesting because what he says is evolution's goal is not to get us to see all of reality as it is. And then he goes on to argue that they did some mathematical equation or whatever. Basically, if we did see reality as it was, our survivability and our ability to replicate our gene profile would basically be nil. None. So based on that, he says, look, evolution is designed to keep us alive and keep us replicating. So when you're viewing the world, evolution's not trying to get you to look at the world as it is. It's just trying to get you. So everything you see is an icon of what's actually real.
Right.
So his assumption is you're not looking at anything you see is an icon of something else. So what he talks about is like you don't take it literally, but you take it seriously. So for example, he talks about the trash. So right on the bottom right of my screen, there's an icon about trash. Right. And then I can take a file and drag that into the trash. Well, did I really do that? Well, in a sense, yes, but we all know that that marker is not real. It's an icon that's designed to accomplish a certain type of task. So if you think about that in the context of seraphim and snakes and all this, like it makes a hell of a lot of sense. That everything that you see here has is an icon of something that is actually real, that I think would completely terrify you if you saw the real representation of any of these things. Which also means, C.S. Lewis, when he says everybody that you see is a potential god or a potential horror movie. Because he's talking about the end game.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying, what I'm getting from Hoffman is, no, that's happening now. Like, you're a horror movie now. We just don't see it because, there's a certain veil that God has put over everybody's eyes. Hoffman says evolution. Okay, whatever. I don't care what you call it. I think God's like, look, if everybody saw reality for what it was, these people would not be able to function in the real world. So we get 70 spins in this simulation, and then, you'll get out. Anyway, long story short, when she says seraphim in the garden and all that, I'm with it. She's right. That's exactly what happened. That's my point. Peter!
Oh, Peter! Hi!
Holy moly. Anytime I hear you talk about Hoffman, he sounds like he's just restating Kant's transcendental idealism with a modern twist. Well, that and Jonathan Edwards had that too, but it's a little bit more. I think the difference is that it's based in the science. So he's got science and mathematics behind it. He doesn't really talk about the theological implications, but if you want to be in the group, Perk, I can put you in the group because you'd definitely be a fun person to chat about. Anyway, we went all over the place with this song. I'm gonna give it a solid 9. Solid 9.
Oh, it was very creepy. 9.1.
Do you think Eve made a kick-ass apple pie? Holy shit.
First of all, Chris, it never says she ate an apple. That's just an assumption people make.
It was probably a fig. But that'd be one of those too soon jokes. Too soon.
Too soon?
Too soon. There you go.
Okay.
Yes, USS Forbes, you missed it. I'm sorry. Thank you guys for the hanging out at the fire stream.
Wait, no, we gotta end this.
Yeah, I'll just say I just gave this a solid 9. What did you give it?
9.1.
9.1. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.